And welcome back to redheart.com as well as the Crochet Crowd. I'm your host Mikey, and we need to also welcome our friends at freshstitches.com. freshstitches.com is under the leadership of Stacy Trock, and she is the designer of the Crochet Mystery Challenge. In this challenge, we're calling it Who's in Your Closet, because we don't know who's in the closet until we work our way through the mystery. This is a 3-week challenge going from July 1st all the way to the 15th, and then you have from the 15th to the 29th to be able to send in your photographs in order to qualify for the gifts that we have. So without further ado, let's look at the first component that we're going to be working on today, and then once we get that done, you can join us again next week as we explore more of this mystery challenge. So let's take a look at today's component that we're going to be working on, and you have the feet and the legs, and you need 2 of these, so you just need a pair. You might want to do more than a pair though, I'm telling you, in different colors. I know this one is going to make you excited. As soon as a child around you knows what you're making, I'm telling you they're going to be lined up waiting for you to hook it as fast as you can. Really easy. Now, even I'm an experienced crocheter, but I actually learned some key concepts with this particular idea. I've never done anything like this before, and it was actually easy. I would describe it like you really could start seeing it come together, and because of that, it was really exciting as you saw the foot just starting to materialize before your eyes. Is actually really an amazing concept, and I was really quite pleased with how it turned out. So today's component, we're going to be working on the feet today. The following tutorial and all episodes of this Characters Crochet Along has been designed by our friend Stacy Trock, amigurumi designer and author. We are thrilled to have the rare opportunity to teach you and bring you a trademark celebrity character. Please be aware that the copyright and trademark laws associated to this character remain in effect. Your finished item is intended for personal use, gift giving, and or supporting your favorite charity. So let's review what we have on screen so that you can get off to the right foot. Pardon my pun, I just made that up. So here's what we have, is that we have the foot and the leg. You should know that the foot is actually one solid piece, and then the leg is added to the project. We actually start right from the foot and work our way up, so we don't actually sew this on, we actually work on it together. For today's tutorial, the project that we're going to be working on, I want to say what it is, but of course it's a mystery, and what we have is that we're going to be using one solid color for the entire body of your character. You only need 1 ball. You're also going to need 3 stitch markers. I just use a scrap yarn for when I do stitch markers because I'm going to show you what to do here. You're also going to need a darning needle to be able to do some fancy stuff with it. You're going to need some fiber fill because obviously this is stuffed with something, and what we also need is a size H or a size 5mm crochet hook to get started. So let's begin, and we're going to start off with some tips because I'm going to start you off on the right foot. Pardon the pun, I'm just loving this. Okay, let's get started. Now in today's tutorial, what we're going to be doing is that we're going to be doing toes. Now I've only done 2 because the third one actually works together with the rest of them. So what we need to do today is that I need you to start you off with the toe, and then you're going to do 2 toes, and then they're going to be off to the side just like you see here. The third toe, what we're going to do is that once we get to the end of it, we are going to then start working and joining them all together. So we don't actually sew them together. You don't see that there's any sew lines, but in actual fact what happens is that you come around and you start joining all the tops of this section right here on each one. So it becomes really easy. So I'm going to start you off with the toe, and if you're on the final toe, the third one, I'm going to take you from that process as we start going all over to the other side. What I also recommend too is that I purposely left in the stitch markers. The reason why I did that is that I like to join my toes, from my experiences, is that I like to join them at the stitch marker line, and therefore I find that it looks a lot better. That's just my own personal taste. So I left them in, I just cut it, you know, spare yarn, got lots of it. So let's begin today. I'm going to grab up my red yarn, and we're going to start off with the toes first. To start off with the toes, you will need a stitch marker. I'm just using spare yarn, but if you like a other stitch marker, you can do so. Have that on the side. Oh yeah, before you begin, I need you to cut, I think about 18 inches of a string, and I need you to cut, I need 2 of them per foot. So just do 1 and 2. So if you're doing 2 legs, which you should be doing because the project does require 2, then I would cut 4. Okay, so have those on the side. We're going to need those in a little bit in this tutorial today. So let's begin, and we're going to start off with a slip knot and put it onto your hook, and to begin remember that this slip knot never counts as one, and we're simply just going to chain 2. So 1 and 2, and let's move on to our next part. We're now going to go into the very first chain, and we're going to single crochet into that first chain 6 times so it goes around in a circle. So simply just go into your first chain, grab the yarn and make your first single crochet. Let's count those out loud as we go. So we have 1 and then 2, 2 and then 3. See how I'm just putting that straggler on top? It'll get trapped in a position so I can hide it, but this can also be on the inside of your foot as well. So we have 4, 5 and 6. So this whole project works in continuous rounds. So what I want you to do is pull up a loop like this, insert the hook into the stitch that's right under it, and grab this stitch marker and pull it through there, and this is gonna count as our revolutions as we go around. There's not a lot of revolutions to the toes, but you still need to keep count so you don't end up with a toe that's like way out of balance. So let's begin to work on our next part. This whole project we're working in the back loops only to create the effects that you see, just like you see all these lines? That's as a result of working in back loops. We're gonna do the same with this. So what we need to do is that we have to come to the first stitch here, and normally we would come in and we'd grab both so that there's 2 yarn strands on top of the actual needle or the actual hook. What I need you to do is skip the first one and just go right to the back one, and we're gonna put in 2 single crochets into there. In fact, what we're going to do is put 2 double crochets into each one of them, going all the way around. So just the back loops only. As I'm just gonna tell you right now, this whole project is on the back loops. So just keep in mind that whatever I'm telling you to do, you will always do back loops. Once you get the first one established, it's really relatively easy. So you're gonna go all the way around with 2 single crochets into each. So essentially you're growing out the front of the toe. Once you get to the stitch marker here, and make sure you do put your 2 in, and before you continue just pull up a loop like this, insert your hook again under that first stitch, and then just pull through, and then that counts as your revolution. So round number 2 is now complete. So round number 3 and 4 is absolutely identical. We're just gonna immediately start in the first one, and we're just gonna go 1 single crochet per stitch. So this is gonna cause it eventually, once we get 3/4 of the way around, you're gonna start seeing it bending. You can already see it's happening because we are now no longer making it grow, so it's gonna kind of grow up like it's the side of a toe. So what you want to do is pop it so that when it bends, it's gonna bend towards you so that these loops stay in front of your face and don't get buried like a bowl in the inside. And you're gonna go completely around like this. So, and then we want to make sure we get the last one, which is where the stitch marker is. So once you get that last one in, pull up the loop and pull that stitch marker again through there so you can see where you finished. So that was round number 3. Again, let's go around again, and this is the final revolution of your toes. That's how fast this thing is. So what you want to do is that once you get to the end, if you're working on toe 1 and 2 of the foot, you're going to want to fasten off, weave in the ends, treat it really nicely because you want it to be really effective. What I would do is that leave that stitch marker in, so when you're ready to put your foot together in the bottom, that you will know exactly where your stopping and starting is. You might be able to see it, but I just find leaving a stitch marker really is no extra time at all. So you're gonna come all the way around, and let's put, so we're on the very last stitch. I'm gonna move that stitch marker up one more time because that's where it is. And so I would cut this yarn and then weave in the ends if I was working on one or on toe 1 or 2. Right now what I'm going to do is that I've already completed those off camera, and you can see what you have here. So you have it nice and weaved in. There's no extra stragglers hanging out. I have my stitch markers in, and that's what you're aiming for when you're getting your toes. So once you get your third toe, you're gonna be in the position that I am right now, where you're not going to fasten off. You're on the end, and this is where I want you to start if you're working on the third toe and ready to make the foot. Because next time we rotate around this, what we're going to do is only rotate it halfway and then capture the next toe, and then capture the next toe, come around, and then come in the back side, capturing it, capturing it and capturing it. So let's begin to do that next. So here's a little mini tip for you here. When you fastened off, you should have 12 stitches going all the way around these toes. Okay, so what's going to happen is that when we come around and we capture only 6 here, you only capture 6 here. So I capture at the stitch marker and go 6 and then jump to the next toe, and then at the stitch marker I go again. It is so critical that your counting stays balanced when you're going through this process. If you're off by 1, what I recommend to do is do 2 together, and when you do 2 together you can actually decrease 2 stitches into 1 if you have to. If you're off and a little bit short, I would actually put 2 single crochets into somewhere along the line so that you can have it in balance. The whole decreasing of the foot is all relative to these stitch counts being perfect as you're going all the way around, and in actual fact what's going to happen is that the side of the foot here is going to be your continuous revolutions as we go. So right where we're starting at this point on this toe here, this stitch marker is going to be the side of the foot working itself all the way down just like so. So let's begin to do that next. Okay, so I have my toes ready to go, and essentially this is the last one that I ended up with, and that's where the stitch marker is. So in order to go around this revolution I have to only go 6. So we're going to single crochet again, still in the back loop. We're always going to do the back loop. So 1 and 2 and 3, 4, and then 5 and 6. So once you have your 6 here, you're immediately going to grab your next toe up here again in the back loop, and just right where that stitch marker is, you just have to get that first one in. Right where that stitch marker is, I want you to start single crocheting. Make sure that the stitches stay nice and tight between the two as you're going. Now that I put my stitch in there, I'm going to pull that stitch marker out so it's easier for you to see. So I have it in and I'm just going to pull it. Now see, that's a little bit sloppy. See there? So what I want to do is just give it a good wiggle and just really kind of pull everything nice and tight. Okay, so don't skimp on that because it's gonna, you'll pay the price of it later. So you have 1 in there, so let's do 5 more. So 2 and 3, 4 and 5 and 6. So we got our 6 in. So now we're going to grab another toe. So again, right where that stitch marker is where I'm going to grab it in, and again, and I want to make sure it's nice and tight in, so just give it a good wiggle and just kind of pull everything tight. Don't be a lady about it. So what we want to do is that, what we want to do actually at this point is that this is the final toe. There's only 3 toes. You're simply just going to go all the way around this toe. And again on the back loops. So essentially this whole round is about collecting toes. I don't know why that's even funny, but it's true. So we're just going to go all the way around. So you're going to notice that in the future revolutions is that we're going to start doing decreasing and stuff, and we're going to know in the next round if we have enough stitches or not, or whether we're off by 1. Technically I've kind of done my homework in advance that I should be right, but it's quite possible that I might be wrong somewhere along the line. So once you get all the way around, you want to make sure that you're not going to grab the round that you've already grabbed. So okay, so this one here I can see it's part of this stitch, but this one here is open. Okay, so I know that I've gone all the way around, and then again I'm going to start now on this toe, and I'm just going to start on one that hasn't been used yet. It's the next one in line, and capture them. So as I'm going around here, so I had you cut 2 extra strings before we started this, and the reason for it is that even though you've joined it, you're still going to see a slight gap, and those strings are used at a future point in this tutorial to just go in with the darning needle and just pull the gap shut. Okay, and then just come onto your final toe here, and again if you get a little bit, wiggle it if you have to, wiggle it just a little bit. I think that's a song somewhere. So we're going to just continue to go around, and we're going to stop right when we hit that stitch marker, and we know that we've gone safely all the way around, and that will be, I believe, round number round number 4 as we've gone all the way around. So that is just a really easy way to do it. And let's move along into the pattern, and we're going to make this a lot easier. So you can see these toes. Now you're gonna start seeing, well, at some point that they're not gonna shape properly. You have to trust in the pattern, because once it actually fills out a little bit, you'll notice that it's gonna be really amazing. Okay, now that I've come all the way around, we do want to make sure I'm moving up that stitch marker every time I'm going around, so I don't lose count where I am. It's kind of hard to be able to figure that out, so I just moved that stitch marker up again. And so essentially rounds number 5 and 6 are identical, and all you're just going to do is chase around the single crochets with additional single crochets, again going on the back loop only. So please complete rounds number 5 and 6 just single crochet around. Make sure you do move up that stitch marker as you hit each round, and then check that off on your list for completing. So I'll see you back at the end of round number 6. So I've now completed round number 6. I have my stitch marker moved up, and you can see it looks really cute so far. So now we're gonna start decreasing it as the foot comes more narrower to the back. So how you do it is that we're gonna start off with our first one, and it says 2 together in the next stitch, and then a single crochet in the next 4, and we're gonna repeat that all the way around. So what's gonna happen at this point is that your very last stitch should be a single crochet before doing a 2 together, and I'll explain that more in just a second. So we're gonna start off immediately, and let's put 2 together. So we're just coming into the first one to pull a loop through, and come into the next one, pull a loop through. You will have 3 loops on your hook, pull through. So those 2 just became 1. So now we're going to single crochet 4 in a row. Okay, so once you have your 4 in a row, you're going to do 2 together again. So coming in, grab through, going into the next one, pull through, 3 loops again on the hook, pull through all 3, and those 2 just became 1, and then just single crochet again 4 in a row. So as this foot goes on, we actually get less single crochets in between all of the 2 togethers as we bring it narrow, in a uniform fashion. So that was 3, 4, and now the next 2 are together. So just continue that all the way around. I'm gonna meet you back just before we get to the stitch marker to explain, just in case that you may be off by 1 or 2 stitches. So I've come up and I have my 2 together right here, and technically I should have 4 stitches left, but I have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Technically I should frog, but let's get real. I'm not going to. So what I'm going to do is that I'm gonna single crochet, and I want to bring this back in balance because it has to equal this, but I only have to adjust it once right here, and then it will be perfect for the remainder of the foot. So I'm gonna single crochet the first one, and the next 2 I'm gonna bring it together. Okay, and then I'm going to single crochet the remainder 2. So that I just had 5 stitches left, and all I've just done now is that I just put an extra together in there so that I can bring the stitch counts back in balance. And I actually, truth be told, I did it here on this one as well, and you really can't tell that I did it. So sometimes you just gotta make it or fake it. So now I just have 2 left, and I just want to single crochet them as normal. You need to end with a regular single crochet, and technically this should have been 4 stitches back before the 2 together, and I was just off by 1, so that's a way of compromising. So you can actually tell that you really can't tell that I did that, and in actual fact I did it on the original 2. I was off by 1. So if you had, for example, say that you had 3 stitches left instead of 4, I would have put an extra single crochet in somewhere along the 3 just to bring it back in balance. The count does matter. So let's move up the stitch marker again, and that was round number 7. And you know, sometimes half the battle is knowing where you can fake something in a project, and that's where you could do it right here. So now going forward, my whole revolutions are always going to be in alignment because I've just adjusted it once, and that's right here. So let's begin rows number 8 and 9. All you're just going to do is single crochet. That's it. So chase it around for rows number 8 and 9. Be sure to move up your stitch marker so you can stay in balance, and when we come back we'll have round number 9 done, and we're ready to move on to round number 10. So it continues 8 and 9 on your own. So round number 10 we're going to start decreasing again, and so the first 2 stitches will be 2 together again, and then 3 single crochets. So what I'm going to want you to do at this point is that I need you to grab up another stitch marker that you're going to need at this point. So I got my 3 in and the next 2 are together. So right around the middle point here, so this is 2 together. Let me get this in. So right around the middle point I want you to put a stitch marker in, and the stitch marker is going to be in a weird spot. So I get my 3 here before I go to another single or 2 together. What I want to do is that I want to put a stitch marker across here, and so I'm just going to grab this one right here and pull it through. We're going to have to reference this because the top of the foot, the actual top of the foot and the leg come out at a certain point. So what I want to do is mark that before I continue, because it says to go back to rounds number 10. I found it's kind of hard to count, so might as well just put it in there, and so that you know where round number 10 is. So continue that same process going all the way around, 2 together and then 3 single crochets into the next, or sorry, 3 single crochets in a row and then 2 together again. And when we come back we'll finish off this round. So I'm coming all the way back around. I just have 2 together here and then I have 3 more. So because I changed, remember how I showed you how to cheat the system? So I just did my 2 together and it says 3 single crochets after that. See how the third one ends back up at the stitch marker? That means that I'm back in balance and that my stitching is going to work out. So I told you that was going to happen. There is proof that it does happen. So let's continue going on to round number 11, and this is looking like the top of a rooster's head, isn't it? It's actually really cute. So let's keep going. Okay, let's do rounds 11 and 12. They're both the same again, just single crochet. So just continue to go in and just chase it around with single crochet. Be sure to move up your stitch markers. When we come back we'll have round number 12 done. So please do rounds number 11 and 12 just a single crocheting all the way around. So I've got rounds number 12 done, and you can see the stitch marker is really coming up. It's really starting to take shape, and I want you to grab another stitch marker. Okay, and what we want to do is that we want to begin again, and the first 2 are together. So single crochet the 2 together and then 2 single crochets in a row, and that's your pattern going all the way around on this one. So again, 2 together, okay, and then 2 single crochets. And what I want you to do with that stitch marker that I just asked you to put, I want you to just pull up a loop here and I want you to insert it again on an angle. And this is going to represent where the actual back of the foot of the leg is going to go. So what's going to happen is I'm going to show you when we get to the leg area where everything is fitting into this time frame, or into this this area really. So let's just continue to go all the way around, 2 together and then 2 single crochets, 2 together, 2 single crochets. When I come all the way back around you'll have 2 together and then the final 2 by themselves. The second one of the 2 should be at the last stitch marker, and in this case it is, so I know I'm still in balance. So if you're not in balance, I would really strongly recommend that if you were in balance in the last time, just go back and make sure. It does make a difference on the shaping of the foot. So let's begin to do round number 14 next. So let's begin to do rounds number 14 and 15, and those are just simply just single crochet around. So continue to do that. Just make sure you move up the stitch markers. So do 14 and 15, and then we're gonna start doing something else once we get these 2 revolutions done. So please do 14 and 15. I'll see you back in just a moment. Okay, so we're just finished off round number 15, and what I want you to do is that we're going to start doing some house cleaning, and I want you to pull up a big loop here so it doesn't fall off. And what we want to do is that when we go to separate this here, you will notice that there's going to be some gapping spaces right between the fingers, or right between the toes, sorry. So remember how I had you grab up 2 strings? Well, what we're going to do is that we're going to get our darning needle out and start taking care of these areas here. So let's grab our darning needle, and you're going to do 1 for each. If you have an extra long string you could probably wheel and deal it on the inside to be able to hide it. So I'm just creating a slip knot on one side, and you notice how the string's not very big. You don't need a big string because all you're just doing is just kind of tacking it across. So I would come up from the inside of this. Okay, so let's just stick our darning needle through the opening and come up on the inside, and what our goal is to be able to just seal together. So I'm coming up on the inside just to get started, and I just want to make sure I don't stab myself. Okay, so I just want to come up so it's on the coming out there, And before I pull this through, I want to just kind of come up, okay, and then I want to go back in as quick as possible into a different section all the way back to that slip knot that I started with, so that I can secure it on the inside. So I'm just kind of feeling on my way on the inside, so I'm not capturing anything. And the worst thing you could do is sew both sides accidentally together. And so I'm just, when I'm back now, I'm just putting that slip knot on, and now I can pull everything nice and tight. So basically it's now fastened on the inside, so you will never see a knot. So then all you're just going to do is just come back in to the inside, and we just start wheeling and dealing across the gapping spaces. Now on the original I went from the outside in, but I found within myself is that, you know, I don't want these loose ends to fall out, and I'd rather having that starting on the inside. I'm just using my fingers also to make sure that I haven't captured any of the inside anywhere, so that they're not pulling tight together, because we have to make sure that this can open up. So it's on the inside, pulling it nice and tight, and now I'm just going to go back and forth across this gapping space just like a few times, maybe 2 or 3 times, just to be able to pull things shut. Once you put stuffing in this, it's going to change the whole perspective, so you want to make sure that you're playing with it now. I also found that when I sewed everything, that it actually made the toes kind of splay out a little bit more, and I think that's actually probably intentional. So just continue to do that with both sides. You have 2 strings that I asked you to pull up when you started this particular tutorial. So do it, and you will do this same thing with both of the feet. You're also going to do this with the other limb that we're going to be showing in the next tutorial for coming up as well. And when you think you have enough done, all you just have to do is just tie it off. Okay, we want to make sure it's well hidden. Chances are this is going to go to a child, so you just don't want any loose ends popping out of this thing. Okay, and then make sure that knot is exceptionally secure. Okay, now that I've secured both of the gapping areas like so, you can always go back afterward. If you put the stuffing in and you think it's still open too much, you can always adjust it later if you have to. So now we have the opening, and now it's time to get our fiber fill, and just basically look at this one here. So you can see that it's stuffed, but it's not like to the point, it's like bleeding bleeding of stuffing. So we're going to now stuff it, and make sure that you do get into the toes. It's not going to naturally want to fall in there, so you'll just have to play around and just continue to stuff as we go. So please stuff your foot at this point, and just stuff to the point where you can just see it come around the top here, but don't overfill it. And make sure that you just use your fingers and really push it down into the toes area. Now that I have 2 feet, what I want to do is I want to use the one foot to kind of measure how thick the other one should be. Once you seal this off, like if it's too thick now, it's not going to change later. So we want to make sure that there's enough stuffing so that they both are looking pretty consistent as we go. And I think that's pretty close, just like so. So let's get ready to continue to do the rest of this foot, and then we're going to move on to the leg next. So let's do round number 16 together, and you're going to have the stuffing popping out to the top. Just kind of push it down a bit so it's not in your way. You don't want it to get captured in your stitches, because you'll see it starting to come out on the outside. So it's 2 together is the first one, is the first starting point. So 2 together, and then single crochet the next, and continue to do that same thing all the way around. So 2 together, and then single crochet the next. And when we meet back up, I'll get you stuck on round number 17 then. Okay, number 17 is next, and we do have some extra spacing here. So I want to grab my polyfill again and just kind of fill in that little space before we continue, because it's going to get harder and harder. I think that's a bit much, but we just want to kind of fill it in as we go, because it's just going to get harder and harder the more we do it. So we just don't want the foot to be overinflated, but we want it to make sure it's going to hold its shape. Well, maybe that's enough, just like this. So round number 17 is really easy. We're just going to do 2 together into each stitch all the way around. Okay, so basically we're basically going to condense it to half. So let's just do that. So the first 1 and 2 are together, so it's 2 together like that, and then the next is 2 together. So continue to do that same thing all the way around. Every one will be 2 together with no single crochets separating them in between. That's why it's important that you have that stuffing in right now. Round number 18 is your final round, and essentially we're just going to single crochet into the first one only. Okay, and then what we're going to do is skip over, and we're going to come over to the fourth. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and basically it's the opposite side of this hole, and you're going to single crochet over there. It's kind of awkward to get to, especially here on camera. So we're going to single crochet over there, and voila, we're ready now to fasten off. So we're going to fasten off, tie in our loose ends, and then what we want to do is we want to bring the knot to the inside. So now let's just tie off first. Okay, so that's off, and all I'm just going to do with that darning needle now is that I'm just going to secure this final one in, and when we do it, we don't want the back of the foot to be pointy. We want it to be kind of rounded off, as you can see. So in order to do that, we just have to manipulate this a little bit and just kind of pull. Now what I would recommend too, pull out that stitch marker that's going up through the side. You don't need that now, and God forbid you actually secure that in position. So what I want to do is just come around the other side of this and just go down, and this darning needle is going to start pulling things in and around, and you can use it to really your advantage to be able to kind of try to manipulate it to get a rounded edge. So you just got to be a little bit creative with it. Take your time, and it's actually really kind of easy in retrospect as well. So continue to do that, and then when we come back we're going to start the foot, and basically we have already our stitch markers in place, so we're going to do that next. Let's begin to do the leg portion now, and the leg portion starts right directly on top of the foot area. So what I had you to do is that I had you to do these stitch markers into place, and they were rounds number 10 and 13 that we did that on. So what I want you to do is that we have to have a total roundage of 12 going all the way around. So when you're going to attach this, you want to find the center point, what you believe to be the center point of the foot, when you're going to look at it straight back, and you want to find the center point. And essentially what's going to happen here is that the 10 is the front of the foot, 13 is the back, and so you want on row number 13 you want to start off in the back anyway, and what you want to do is that you want to go 1, 2, 3, 4, so you want to capture 4 stitches and then just come straight forward. So 1, 2, okay, so this is rounds this is 13, 12, 11. You get to 10, so you're going to come up here, and then you're going to go and capture 1, 2, 3, 4 here in the front, and then go backward to again for rounds number 12, 11 and 12 as you make your way back. So as long as you end up with a total count of 13 in a circle, you are good to go, and you're laughing each and every time. So what we have to do at this point here is that we have to just make sure that we're going to be looking at the center point in order to figure out where the first stitch should go, and once we get that, then we basically can work in the configuration that you see here. To begin, I'm going to create a generous slip knot with a generous tail, and just like this. And so I'm going to start off in the back of the foot in the back corner, and I just want to grab the front loops that are here that you can see. So just grab one, and I've already determined where my center is just kind of mentally before I pushed record today. And so let me just get the first one in. So I'm gonna single crochet that one right to the first. I just want to put it right in and single crochet it right into position like this. This straggler you can leave on the interior of the leg once you get all the way around. So now that I have the first one, I'm gonna work over, and I want to just go 3 more over, and that'll help do this, keep it in groups of 12. Straggler is kind of getting on my nerves a bit. Okay, so that was 2. This is 3 and 4, like this. So now let's turn it, and I want to work my rows up. So here is the 2 rows, they're right directly in front, so just coming into the loops again. So okay, so that was 1 and 2. Okay, and now Here is round number 13 here. So I want to just go and get those loops here. So I'm just kind of looking, making sure I'm still in balance. Nothing's worse if you have a leg that's quite off. I'm sure a kid won't mind, but I'm sure you'll notice it. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So now it's time to head backward to the other one. So we have 2 stitches left. Okay, so we're just going to come into the loops. So just look what's in the line. There's really no science to it. It's just a matter of, I guess maybe there is a little bit of science to it, but it's not like it's hardcore. Well, once you come all the way around, we're also going to join the first one, and I'm just going to join it just to say that I did it, and I'm just going to join it with the first one, and I'm just going to pull it through like as a single crochet join. Okay, and so basically you now have the center of the leg. The leg is actually relatively skinny when you really look at it, and so now I want to start going up. Now the leg is absolutely identical. The leg is absolutely identical. There's no growing of the leg of any shaping, so all we need to do is that we need to go up the leg, and we just need to count the number of rings like it would be on a tree. And so you can either move the stitch marker up or just do a whole whack of them and start counting, and every time you hit a line basically you'll notice that you're up one more level. And the key is that once you get one done, you're going to want to measure it to the second one anyway, just to make sure that it is right, just in case you were off in any way. Okay, so now that you have your in, you can take out your stitch markers. You're comfortable, you're good. And this whole other piece here that we started off with, we can trim it so it's not in our way. The trick with the leg is, I think, to stuff it as you go. It's harder to stuff this whole tube area, and you can obviously restuff it more if you have to, but I would stuff a little bit in as you go just to make it easier for you. Again, still maintaining the back loops only. You need to do 17 rounds, and so all you just need to do is count up 17 of the lines that you appear to go across. I said, like a tree, and that just makes it really easy, and you just sit back and enjoy it and just get as many rounds done as you think that it's possibly, and then just start counting, and you can just verify. I found with this whole process, because it's only 12 stitches around, it goes relatively quickly. So continue to do that, and make sure that you stuff some fiber fill as you go. It's just a lot easier in the end. So when we come back, I'll have the leg completely done and stuffed, and that completes today's tutorial. When you get to all the way to the end of 17, so you can count up the rings, we're just going to trim off, and I've already pulled the loop out, and I'm just going to pull it like this. We're going to use this string to sew it to the main body when we get to that point of this tutorial. So please just leave it as is. It is stuffed and it is now ready to go, and that completes today's tutorial. So that's it for today, and thank you so much for joining me. On behalf of redheart.com, freshstitches.com, please join me next time as we explore more of who is in your closet. Until next time, I'm your host, Mikey.